Hello, everyone. Welcome to Her Story Unscripted. I am very excited to have Dori Martin on. We personally just met, but she reached out to be on my podcast, and there's always like something in the whenever somebody reaches out to me to be on the podcast that there's like one little nugget that I'm like, I need this person on my podcast. And what you do about like mineral imbalances and stuff, I'm like, I have no idea what any of this is. And I'm so curious because I'm sitting in my 40s as well.
hmm
And in this like weird life, altering changes in what our bodies are doing. And so I'm just excited to have this conversation. So welcome.
Yay. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And I was listening to your 2025, I think, year end. I thought this is the most fascinating human I've come across. And I think that we're so aligned in so many ways because you talk about honoring yourself, making it about yourself now. I have my own story about holding it together for everybody and worrying about the like doing all the things, spinning all the plates and thinking, where am I in this whole thing? And so I'm super excited to meet you and to have this conversation. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, thank you for being here. I want to dive right in. So funny, you're from California. You're telling me you're like
Yeah.
you said Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Pittsburgh, California is a very small town at the end of like we have a Bay Area Rapid Transit. It's at the very end of the line, so it's like way out there because we wanted to just kind of cocoon and we're near a marina and my husband loves being near the water and so we're out here. But we're in transition. We have, my oldest son just graduated and we're kind of here because of him, so or because of the kids, not because of him. But yeah, so we might be moving. Stay tuned. We'll see.
Is Pittsburgh in like the Bay Area?
It is in the Bay Area, like deep into it, like Walnut Creek,
Yes.
Pleasant Hill,
Yeah.
further in, like Antioch, Brentwood, things like kind of a lot of hills and not a lot of um, not a lot of city, more like suburbia.
Okay, I think I know. I'm in Northern California. I'm Sonoma County. You probably
Oh,
know.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I heard a little bit about it. Yeah,
Yeah. So you're
beautiful
not you're
there.
not too far away.
No.
So I feel like everybody gets to their career point because there was
Mhm.
something that happened along your journey that made you either learn more about it or question it, or there was a health thing. How did you get to the work that you're doing today? If you want to like kind of lead us into where you're at. And then I have so
Yeah.
many questions about the work you're doing now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to go through this real fast, but it's going to
Yeah.
sound like I'm starting at the beginning of time. But in 2006, when I had two small children, I ended up getting divorced. One was 5 months old, the other one was a toddler. And that started sort of my journey of, oh my goodness, holding it together for everybody, doing it all, trying to make sure everybody is okay. And then I navigated with my dad through his end of life. Shortly after that, as I'm learning how to parent and decided because I'm a single parent, didn't want to lose time with my kids, started my own practice as a health practitioner, massage therapist, and health educator. And then I ended up getting engaged to an amazing man, and he was diagnosed with a terminal condition. And in the middle of all that, I was getting certified as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And interestingly, when I graduated, that's when the diagnosis happened. And so I asked my mentor, hey, is this some functional diagnostic nutrition? Can we help with this? And he said, go to a clinic. So we learned how to help with a terminal condition through a clinic. And one of the things I ran was a hair tissue and mineral analysis through somebody else, which is the lab I like to use now about minerals that we'll be talking about later. But this mineral's high, so we reduce this. This is low, so we increase that. That's not how you run it. It's very nuanced. So it didn't really do a lot, but it did show a lot of heavy metal toxicities. And if you have any chronic health conditions and a lot of actually symptoms of menopause and burnout, then there are often metals at play or the inability to detox. Anyways, fast forward. So terminal diagnosis, get your affairs in order. There's nothing we can do. 12 years later, he's still here. So just wanted
Oh,
to give you that before you worry about that scuba diving and skydiving and doing all the crazy things he loves to do. But then I never recovered from those moments of burnout and I didn't realize it. And, I was listening to this podcast that you were, and one of the reasons I reached out about like burnout and just like losing interest and losing motivation and everything. And that was happening to me, but I didn't know what's going on. Fast forward again, in 2020, the infamous, I went through a midlife hormone mastery course, and I wanted to ramp up my business. I'd worked with an influencer, and that ended or terminated. And so started up again, felt like I was starting over. But that's when I saw my labs for the midlife hormone mastery course. If it were Heather, anybody else, I would have said, hey, sweetie, this is a time to rest. But of course, it's me, right? And I think I can overcome
Yep.
because I've
Because
got
we
the
do everything
tools
because we're
now.
like
Yeah,
super
yeah,
women. Yeah.
exactly. So if it
Yeah.
were anybody, it was me. So I'm like, all right, I know the tools. I've got this. So I tried to launch my business in that moment. And then sandwich generation, I'm taking care of my mom, and she lives with me part times as a snowbird. And it just, I never address my burnout. And actually, when my markers came back and I was looking at labs, they were worse than my husband's as he was going through his healing journey. And
Wow.
so, again, it's like, I'm going to power through this. I feel fine. Shake it off. It'll be fine. And then I actually ran my hair tissue and mineral analysis. And the amazing thing about it, and I've like, it's since become the main test that I offer, is because it shows you your thumbprint to how you live life and your stress blueprint. And
Mm.
I was, Heather, bottomed out. And it also tells you if you have cellular energy. And of course, what does that mean? Well, I mean, you're not going to be able to create dopamine and like motivation or have
Mm.
energy to do anything physiologically, like getting your hormones what they need to do, getting enzymes, and just any kind of functional and cell, like anything your body needs to do. You really can't because you literally don't have the energy. Minerals are the spark plugs to your body. And so it gives you an idea. It doesn't matter what you do with your vehicle, put the best gas in there, maybe pretty coat of paint, whatever. If the spark plugs aren't working, that car isn't going to move. And it's like us with our bodies and our mineral imbalances. And so that is actually after living with burnout, doing all the things, taking hormone replacement therapy, exercising, trying to get my metabolism geared up. Nothing was working. And so I would say it's probably not an either or, but it makes everything work better. And if nothing's working, things will start working again. So that's why I love this conversation. And I agree, a lot of people don't know about it. And I think more should because it's foundational. People are talking about it, but more in general terms, because there was a question I was asked, like, why don't people know about it if this is so important? We do talk about it. Take your electrolytes, take your minerals, but you just kind of throw them into whatever, like a trace element supplement or something like that. But it's more nuanced than that. And when you're depleted, taking the wrong thing can push things down farther because they're kind of like a Rubik's cube. They work together and some of them antagonize each other. So it's not just so simple as just take your minerals. And also, there are certain cofactors that help balance them out. And so you could take magnesium. That's a really good example. They say 80% of people are deficient, right? But then if your sodium is low and you take magnesium, it'll push that down even lower. And sodium is one of the major minerals of energy and vitality. Sodium, potassium together are kind of the pump that actually sparks your cells to have energy. And so if you push it down with
Mm.
magnesium, not being aware, then you're going to actually make it more difficult. And that's why you hear people saying it makes me feel worse. It makes me feel irritable, edgy, or it just doesn't help at all. And so it's very nuanced, but it's not an expensive lab. And also, it's not supplement heavy in the sense that I love using the, nutrition instead of like a handful of supplements, because the entourage effect of nature's intelligence helps you be able to absorb and use these minerals better. But the
Mm.
biggest depletion of minerals is stress. So a lot of the things that you were saying about, putting yourself first, finding joy, and, making sure that whatever you're doing, it's something that lights you up. Because I think all of the opposite is you kind of burn out your minerals even faster. I would also argue that when you get to midlife, we look at hormones because it's been protecting us
Mm.
this whole time from all the things. Some people call it the sins. I'll just go with that, but I don't want to be negative. But that's, I think, very descriptive of our youth. And so when the hormones disappear, they're not protecting us anymore. But underneath it all, it's been depletion and the lack of or less and less ability to spark energy.
Interesting. I was going to ask you, so how old are you?
I'm 56. I'll be 56 tomorrow.
Oh my God, you look beautiful for
Oh my
56.
gosh, it's
It's probably all the
lighting and
minerals.
makeup and yeah, sunshine. The right lighting is everything. It's my friend.
I know, like, because I'm 43, so I'm sitting in this,
Wow. Uh-huh.
perimenopause world,
Yes.
and along with
Yes.
everyone else in my world. And So when you were starting this journey, you got your hormones tested because I think all of us women are like,
Yeah,
okay, we got to go get our hormones tested.
right.
And we do, and it's hard because they always tell you, because our hormones fluctuate by the time of month, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's going
Yeah,
through this like hormone therapy, right, to like regulate themselves.
right.
Do you think you need that in conjunction with minerals, or do you think even if you were to supplement with the right minerals in your day-to-day life, the hormones kind of like how do those work together?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question. So what I would say is it's always very nuanced and contextual. Every woman's body is different. So I would test before guessing. However, um, if you don't have these foundations down, it won't work as well. And it actually might make you feel worse. So I feel
Mm,
like I would start with the foundations. If you're having major symptoms, at least monitor your mineral balancing as you're doing the hormone replacement therapy. And I'll tell you the story of like, well, I was doing the midlife hormone mastery program with somebody who's really big in the field. And we were doing our Dutch tests, and they were talking about physiologic dosing, the ins and outs, and the benefits of one thing or another. So, of course, I had mine run, and I was in the menopausal range, flatline, right? And so I thought, all right, I'll do the physiologic dosing. As we now know, if you're before within the 5 year window before your menopausal, like when you're without a period, you actually have a better result because your receptors are still working, right?
mm,
So I got myself on that. Then I checked my minerals because I had an awareness of, they affect each other. Well, what happened was my copper went really high, and estrogen and copper have a synergistic relationship, and my estrogen did go high, but my copper went high. That's inflammatory, causes irritability, brain fog. It causes actually a lot of the symptoms of menopause. And if I had not looked at that, and it's inflammation and it stresses your adrenals and it causes calcium to go high and get into your muscles and your arteries, bones, and all the things and causes pain in your body and inflammation. So when I saw my hair tissue and mineral analysis, it wasn't like that. Took the hair tissue, the hormone replacement therapy, and it just went up through the roof. And so that was actually causing more imbalance that I didn't know
mm,
about. I felt great, and then I felt horrible, and I would never have traced it to that. So I would say, just some people really do benefit from hormone replacement therapy, obviously, but also look at your minerals so you can actually see what's going on a mineral level. Because if it's not working, you can optimize it. If it's working, you can optimize it. So it's actually going to make everything work better. And that's actually for everything, your metabolism and your muscle building, even if skin and sagging actually has a lot to do with minerals, zinc, silicone, or your ability to digest, free oxidative damage, your metabolic rate, what your thyroid is doing. So many things are related to skin health as well in terms of minerals. And so a lot of the signs of aging are actually depletion, like physical depletion,
mm.
and their body's breaking down and can't recover faster than it's breaking down.
And the
I
way
hope I
they
answered your question.
no, no,
Okay.
it's super interesting. What I took from what you said is the inflammation. Like I feel puffy all the time. Like
Yes.
everything hurts all the time.
Yeah.
And I have no energy. Like I know I need to go lift or go walk or like do all of these things, but like I literally just don't have the physical energy to do that. And I
Yes.
do feel there's some kind of depletion happening.
Yeah.
How does one go about getting a mineral testing?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, that is exactly, I could point out like ideas about what the mineral balances are just based on what you were saying. But you know what I love about this test is, yeah, people don't know about it and they say like, why is it like, why not just a blood test? With a hair tissue and mineral analysis, one of the great things about it is that it's painless. You don't have to go anywhere. A practitioner will send you the information. You either get a kit, which is an envelope and some place to collect it, or a lot of it is just you get the instructions and you actually do it through the instructions that a practitioner would send you, and then take your sample, drop in the lab, and then we do everything else. And so it's really easy. But there's so many things. I mean, I am a functional diagnostic nutritioner. It's an amazing program, teaches you how to run all kinds of labs, and through FDN and self-study, I know about 12 different functional labs doctors don't run. But I
Mm.
start with the hair tissue and mineral analysis because whether it's a gut issue, hormone issue, food sensitivities, any of those things, inflammation, metabolic issue, thyroid issue, it's going to give you a blueprint to what's going on in one lab that's
Just
easy to
from your
take.
hair follicle?
Yes, yes. Do you know why? It's
Oh,
because it's a tissue sample. What they're taking when they're taking blood is that I might start talking fast because this is all exciting and fun.
I
But
love it.
blood is like serum, right? So it's very much like homeostatic. It wants to carry things to other places. So when you look at that, it's like, okay, that's what you're getting information about. When you have actually a tissue sample, which is your hair, it's what's going on in the cell. So you might have, for
Wow.
example, great like regular thyroid hormone. But if you take your head tissue mineral analysis in your hair, if it's not getting into your cell, you're not going to be able to feel like you have enough thyroid hormone. And so you're going to have that result like, whoa, I'm taking the hormones, but it's not helping me. You'll know why. It's because of a specific ratio on the hair tissue and mineral analysis, the calcium and potassium ratio. And calcium kind of is like a calcification when you see in the water. That's kind of what it is, right? So if it's on your
Mm.
cell, it's going to block things, whereas potassium helps you absorb things. So if you have a high calcium potassium ratio, can't get into the cell. Doesn't matter how much hormones you take. And if you
Mm.
it's too permeable, it's going to go right through. So it'll give you a lot of great idea and a different way of if you're utilizing what you're taking in, right? Are you using it? So it's not like it's there, but are you using it? Which is a huge difference. There's also like and I don't expect anybody to understand this. I just wanted to explain kind of what it looks
Yeah.
like. Sodium, potassium, that's your vitality ratio, and that's what gets energy into the cell. So
Mm.
if it's really depleted, then everything you're doing, like you're saying, I want to work out. Well, you don't have the motivation. Your intelligent body intuitively knows that's going to drain you even further. And so it's probably not a good option to go hit it hard, that kind of thing. And we do that, right? We starve our
Yep.
body, so less nutrients and minerals, and then we go and we exercise and we think high intensity or let's just lift more. But if you're, sodium, zinc, and other minerals are needed for producing digestive enzymes. So if that's low, you're not digesting. So that idea about eating more protein, are you breaking down, absorbing it, or is it just another thing for your body to be able to not be able to handle? And
Mm.
so just painting a picture, I know the ratios and everything, but just painting a picture that it tells you a lot of information about how your cells are functioning. And not only that, but it connects the mind-body connection
Hmm.
because your mood is impacted by your minerals. Plus, if do you ever have those moments when you were lit up emotionally and time just stood still and you could do something for hours go by and you're not tired, you just have endless energy. And then other times it's a small task, but man, it was like an hour, but it felt like five, right? So like that ties into the mind body connection in terms of your stress and energy, and
Mm.
also, your ability to create even a good mood to be able to function, because there are a lot of things in the hair tissue and mineral analysis that lets us know what's going on with your mood and how you're handling stressors in your life and even thought patterns that might be like, are you type A? Or are you
Yes.
like relaxed and chill, right? So I would see that in a lot of different, are you parasympathetic, sympathetic? What's going
Really?
on with your sodium, potassium? Yeah. If your potassium is super high or low, super low in depletion and burnout, potassium, you're a type A person, have always been running it and getting it done. Suddenly you can't. And then you feel ashamed and you feel super irritable and you feel like, what's wrong with me? Am I broken? That's low potassium. And we can see these patterns, and it's been proven over and over and over again. And I'm a geek, so I'm in multiple groups where I look at case studies. I have my own clinical experience. I've got one client I know, I mean, one practitioner I know, a mentor that's seen over 20,000 labs. So I feel like that's statistically significant because we're seeing these patterns in real time. And I'm looking at it as it applies to women in burnout and in midlife because, you said you were 40, which I
43.
can't
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
43. So you've been running whatever your stress and type A lifestyle, and it's working well for you. But over time, that's the amount of depletion that if you haven't
Mm.
given yourself rest and restoration, that's the amount of depletion that you've been experiencing. And now, yeah, hormones are going up and down, as you know. But foundationally, is there energy left in your body to digest food, to fight inflammation, to have enough of a metabolism? It also gives you the metabolic rate. And it's really fun, Heather,
Mm.
because then you see if it's high, you see the mineral pattern. So it's not like, oh, I'm stuck. It's like, okay, let's do these things to bring it. They're levers. Minerals are things that you can actually manage in your body. I mean, there's some genetic factors that will impact, but it gives you a better way of intelligently understanding what to do when your metabolism is slow. Because literally,
Mhm.
there's a marker for slow or fast metabolism. It's the same for oxidative stress. Are you aging faster than you want to be? Like most of us are, right? If we're aging fast, we don't want to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's really fascinating. There's a blood sugar marker and there's an infection ratio, and then there's just the heavy metals and inflammation and fatigue and a lot of things that we're dealing with in burnout, even like bone issues like lead and other ones embed in the bone. Um, the body's intelligent. So when you're deficient, it's going to use these toxic metals to um, kind of substitute for it. And so there's a lot of things to consider that
And
can really help.
you can literally get all that from one hair
Yes,
follicle.
isn't that crazy?
That's so
Yes.
wild and crazy to
I know,
me.
I know. Well, I have a case study that I can show you because people are like, seriously, let me go just rub a lamp and figure this out at the same time, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the lab, and I have a case study, I don't know if I sent it to you, but it's just like you can see in real time how it looks. We talk about the validity and the science behind it, and then just what it looks like, and then how it's applied in a way that midlife women can be able to understand and see the possibilities. But it does sound very yeah, it's a lot.
It's just crazy that from that little, piece of
Yeah,
body, it's not even a part of your body. I mean, it is, but like that could tell your whole entire everything that's going on in your
right. I mean,
body.
exactly. Because when you take a hair sample, and it's about like maybe your hair grows maybe a quarter centimeter a month. So you take the hair closest to your scalp, just a small spoonful. And if you take it in the back, you won't notice, but because people are worried about that with, I understand. But it's what's been going on in your body for the last 3 months. And so instead
Mm.
of just a snapshot, like with cortisol and the Dutch test, one day that you get triggered and you take that test, it'll spike high. But that's just one snapshot. It really doesn't tell you what the average is, which is what you really want. And so, yes, it's what's been going on in the last 3 months. And a lot of times, too, depending on the state of the patterns, I can see if somebody's been in a state of burnout for a very long time. Or if they're acute, there's like the stages of stress. It's acute, or you're kind of adapting, or you're depleted. We can tell where you are in that continuum through the hair test just because of how it is a blueprint, thumbprint, I guess, to your stress patterns, how you're
Interesting.
doing life, and how you're able to cope with it at this point.
So once somebody does that, so gives you the sample, you
Hmm.
run the testing, do you then come back and say, here's where you're depleted, here are where all your levels are, and then do recommendation of like what minerals or things you can do to get it more regulated?
Yeah. So when you get your test results back, first of all, as you're waiting for your test results, I give you an email sequence of different primal inputs or foundational things a human body needs to be able to thrive. And with midlife women, we don't need a giant rigorous list of things to do that'll take hours. And it would be great to be able to go to massage every week and go to a retreat, which I think is a great idea.
Yes.
But you can also you can also do little things, and that's what I think is so exciting. And so we don't live in an environment as humans that is able to support our primal bodies.
Mm.
A lot of people aren't getting hydration. We're not getting the right nutrients. We're getting processed foods. We have toxic metal burden, especially when we get to midlife, and we are not getting enough sunshine. We're like complicated plants. Without sunshine, what do you think is going to happen? Without proper water, without the proper nutrients, right? And that's what's happening. And so it's just basic things like hydration. We're not breathing properly. We're just breathing in the like lower lobes of our lungs and not really inhaling because we're stressed, we're hunched over, we're looking at our phones. So we're literally not getting oxygenation and all of these things. So these really basic things, you get 5 days of that just to remind you these are really foundational self-care. Dose it throughout your day, like drink water, make sure you do some breathing. You mentioned meditation. If that's something that you want to do, breathe and meditate. Do, focus on that.
Mhm.
And then as you're waiting for it, that's what you're getting. And then you get the lab back. It takes about 1 or 2 weeks, depending on how busy the lab is. And yes, as you said, I like to co-create. I don't like telling you or the person. So we look at what's going on with their lifestyle through an intake, and then we customize a program that is doable and meaning sustainable that fits into your busy lifestyle. And a lot of it is lifestyle because the biggest thing that depletes your minerals. So go back to Heather's interviews and talks about like managing stress and trauma and all those other things and, living your best life because those will be able to help you maintain your minerals and amplify them, whereas the opposite. So there would be a lot of those things with, stressing out your nervous system and what are some mindset and things that are getting you to feel like you can't rest and you don't get to and you don't have self-care and you don't feel supported. Right. And then, so that's the other thing, right? The collective, find people to support you. That is great medicine. And then we look at the minerals and we talk about the emotional aspects that were found, and we find the physiologic aspects. I don't necessarily always show them the lab because it'll overwhelm them, but really what the findings are. Depending how deep do you want to go down the rabbit hole, I'll go with you. But a lot of times, just tell me what you found, and then let's co-create something that will be sustainable to be able to help support you so you'll understand it's a lot of like it's almost like if you believe in astrology. I mean, it's like I feel like I'm doing something like that because it really does let you know. Like I was in a state of such depletion, I wasn't going to be able to dig out of it just by, just basic talk therapy or breath work.
I was
There
gonna
was
say,
going to be
like,
more.
because I mean, obviously, like you were already in this work, but like it amplified when you were going through your own thing. Talk
Exactly.
about like who you were before and like where you are now, and maybe some of the few impacted things that you implemented in your life that got you into the place you are now.
Oh, great question, and thank you for asking. So where I was before is I felt like I had to save the world, and I was holding it together for everybody. And I totally resonated with what you were saying because my husband couldn't work for a bit, and so it felt like got my kids, got my mom, and I've got my husband, and I needed to do something to make sure that we were all fine, right? I totally felt you. You were asked, does anybody resonate? I was like, I'm here, sister. But anyway, so. Yeah,
Still
all of
there.
these
I'm still
things.
there, just so we're clear.
Well, that's the thing, right? I feel like there's that. So I guess I'm jumping the gun. I'll get back to that. But yeah. So I was burnt out. I was depleted. I got to the point where when I was doing that midlife hormone mastery, I also signed up for a mastermind. Remember, no cortisol. It was upside down, and I was depleted and totally menopausal. No hormones in the tank. Um, Trying to launch a business in a mastermind, and I couldn't keep up. Type A was perfectionist. I always managed to hit my targets. I was flatlined and I was shaming the crap out of myself. And I felt so horrible. What's wrong with you? Why can't you look at all these people moving ahead and you're just sitting on your bum staring at the wall? What's going on? Right. And so ran my labs, did a lot of studying. I got certified as a yoga therapist and learned about EFT and became a practitioner, meditation, breath work, did all those things, studied trauma healing. And then finally, because I wanted to help other people, right? I wanted to help my husband and my clients. And I turned all of that in towards myself. It wasn't until I got into the absolute burnout, brain fog, my hormones were everywhere. It was that whole copper incident I just like that actually causes raging mood swings. Like, oh my God, I should keep myself away from people because I'm a terror. I'm gonna rip somebody's feelings apart. I ended up doing all these other things that really helped. So the things that really helped was looking at my hair tissue and mineral analysis. And there's nothing like a black and white sort of like look, to give you a quantified, because people will tell me like, hey, you look exhausted. You need to do something about that. But when you see it in black and white like that and explain to you, it really shifts how you think about things. So I started balancing out my minerals. And so I don't like to recommend more than five, maybe different things to do in terms of supplementation. But then a lot of it was lifestyle. Women in midlife, their blood sugar becomes less balanced. And so doing things to dial that in, but then just the basic things that I mentioned in the 5 days or the email sequence that I send to people, Sunshine. I know that sounds so odd, but it balances our hormones. It helps with our stress. It gives us the energy we need because it increases the cortisol you need for the day, and then
Mhm.
it tapers out at nighttime. It's basically your body does things in a certain sequence, and it's sort of like a band and symphony. And when you don't have your light and dark signals balanced, then your body's in chaos and nothing else works. So it's another foundational thing. So I would get into the sunshine. I would make sure I got hydrated, I balanced my minerals, and I rested and did a lot of the things that you talked about, surrounded myself with good people, got really simplification and focus and a lot of self-care, which wasn't like something that was time consuming, but taking a pause throughout the day, which is really difficult. Um, Breath work, meditation, slowing down. Even slowing down your talking and moving makes you more mindful and also doesn't signal, we're in a hurry, we're in a hurry, go, 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 you're in danger, go, go, go. So it slows your nervous system. It tells you you're safe. A lot of it is about safety, signaling safety and support. Those were the things that helped me. So
Mm.
yeah. And then you could look and you get your minerals back and you can see you don't necessarily need it because you're feeling, you can tell. But then it's crazy because then you see, wow, look at how my energy levels have gone up and my adrenals have recovered. And look, my blood sugar is balancing and my metabolism's speeding up and my thyroid is also balancing out. And it's amazing.
Do you think, like, I'm so intrigued. I'm like, I want to do this, and then I want to come back, and I want you to like analyze when I feel better
Absolutely. Let's
because
do it.
I
That would
that's
be
where
fun.
I think for me, one, it's like the lack of energy to do
Yes.
stuff, and then
Yes.
the inflammation for sure, and the
Yes.
moods. Like I am
Yeah.
so nasty sometimes.
I know. I totally, yes. I,
And
I
I
mean,
say
that's
something, and I'm like,
horrible.
wow, you're a
Yeah.
biatch. You know what I mean? But I'm like, I don't even know why. Like, I can't even explain why. It's just
You
like
know
this
what?
reaction.
Do you want me to give you the mineral interpretation of that? That'd be kind
Yeah.
of fun. Okay, so
Because I'll
so
just go get it now. So I at least, just kidding.
it's like I know, right? No, well the so what might be happening is like that potassium is super low, and a lot of times what happens is you've been a high. It's like you see your goal right there in front of you, and you can't. So then you turn into a bitch because it's like, hey, I've always been able to do this, and I can't now. So there's that irritation, the existential, like, what's going on? I can't do what I want to do. But there's also copper. Maybe that's in balance, right? And so what happens when your copper is in balance is you get super irritable. You get so mad that you're looking for a reason to yell. And when you find some small thing, bam, and like everything goes into that. And
Should I
that's
bring my
a lot
husband
of,
in right now so we can talk
yeah,
about
yeah, let's like, it's
it's
not
not
her,
my
it's her,
fault.
her minerals. It's totally her minerals. It's not her. It's her hair. No, that's not right. But anyway, but yes, because there's so much shame, blame, and sadness. There's grief too. Am I broken? Is this the way life is going to be? And
Mhm.
you try all the things, and it works for other people, and it's not working for us, right? Or it works and it stops working, as was what happened with hormones for me. And to answer your question too, it's very individual. Like I'm not
Yeah.
taking estrogen right now because there are certain minerals that bolster the existing hormones that you have in your body, like boron. It helps increase free estrogen and testosterone, and it influences sex binding hormone, and so basically it's not bound and it's able to circulate better. So for midlife women, it can actually help. It also helps with bone health. So there are certain things that you can do, but it's not for everybody. I mean,
Right.
there are some people who absolutely need it. So it's very contextual. And by the way, I'd like to say, don't listen to anything I say and believe it. Check it out for yourself because that's, I think, dangerous in terms of like, I've got an hour or maybe some 5 minutes to mention something. And so please do your research or
Yeah.
look at the lab and understand it and
Well, and
don't
like
run
you
with
had
what I
mentioned
say.
earlier, we're all different, right? We're all made
Yes.
of different things. And so, yes, what might work for your friend,
Yeah.
it might not work for you because, again, we're
Right.
all individual. And that's what I love about this concept in these tests is that it's very individual and like creating something specific just for you and what your
Yeah.
body
Based on
needs.
data.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay,
What your
well,
body
you're
is
gonna have to
telling you.
sign me up because, or whatever I need to do, you need to send me the things because I
100%.
want to
All
do
right.
it. But I do want you to tell me, I want to include in the show notes how people could do a test like this and work with you. So you'll have to, that will be in the show notes as well. But I'm curious
Okay.
because you mentioned that this type of testing worked with your husband who had a terminal disease, or
Mm,
right? Does he still
right,
have
right.
it? And how has even just getting that dialed in for him changed his life, really?
Yeah, such a good question. So, um, I would say that we don't worry so much about the original diagnosis right now as it's stress levels. Um, for a man who I think is a go-getter type A and like now in a season of life where that shouldn't be a priority anymore, he's struggling. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And it is depleting his minerals and he's aware of it. So we're doing all the other things, managing the nervous system and, trying to, get the primal inputs and get some sunshine, functional movement and those kinds of things. And so he had some other pre-existing things that are more structural, and so we're looking a lot at that. But with the in terms of the minerals and everything, we did work a lot with that because especially so I'll just say it because he's kind of private, but I kind of feel like he said mention it if it makes sense. But he had stage 4 gastric cancer. And when you
Oh.
have something like that and in any kind of chronic illness, this is to oversimplify, there's a toxicity on board. Your
Hmm.
immune system is compromised, and also you're nutrient depleted, mineral depleted, and something has been stressing you out. Studies have shown that within like 5, maybe 10 years, but 5 years, maybe a lifetime, something was stressing you out, whether it was a complex trauma or something significant. Combat veteran, right? He was a combat veteran and had a lot of stressors in his life and was
Yeah.
a single dad of 3 kids that he raised for 17 years by himself. Um, and so that is a lot of what sparks something like that, an illness. And so hair tissue and mineral analysis, we were able to see what the toxicities were. Can also tell you whether you're ready for a detox. We can
Mhm.
see if you're a poor eliminator because a lot of times when people go into a detox, it makes them feel worse or it actually stirs things up. You don't have the ability it's like sweeping and scrubbing and everything and nowhere to put in all the dirt and dust. And it makes things worse because you're so depleted. So yes, we worked a lot on like balancing out the minerals and balancing out blood sugar is a big part of it too. And then detoxification and boosting immune system. Big piece was nervous system regulation and managing those trauma triggers and thought systems that were keeping him stuck. So yeah.
That's so cool. I'm curious that it made me think of this because one of my best friends just got diagnosed with cancer, colon cancer. Does a
Oh yeah.
test like
Mhm.
this or analyzing where you're at while you're going through chemo and cancer, like, is that helpful?
It can give you information for sure about what's been happening and the amount of depletion and maybe some toxic metals and things that you have in your body. When you go to through conventional treatment, it's going to shift everything.
Right.
So it's good to know the baseline and maybe I've worked with people, you take it before and then after, and then you actually start addressing what happens after.
Mm.
It's just interesting to see what maybe the situation, the landscape of your minerals that I don't want to say allowed, but I guess allowed this cancer to grow. There's this thing about like terrain theory. A healthy body is able to fight it off or offset the cancer growth because we all have cancer in our body. So I've actually coached people through a nutrition for that. And also, yes, mineral balancing. But again, it's like also focusing on a lot of different things, the nervous system regulation and detoxification, immune system boosting. I have something that I offer for that. For me, it's really heavy, and I didn't want that to be like we're talking about joy and what lights us up. I want to be able to be a source of information and resources for that. But I didn't want that to be my everything I talk about all the time. But for sure, mineral balancing will give you a blueprint, kind of a big picture and then there are a lot of different things and specialists that give you information about what to do. Um, this will foundationally make things work better. And
Hmm.
then everything else will be really the therapy that you want to use to take the lead. But I will say that if you're in a state of nervous system dysregulation or, perfectionism or black and white thinking or have to be go, 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 or if there was something that happened that was catastrophic 5 years ago and you've never kind of processed it and kind of acknowledged it and worked through it, then your system's always going to, again, oversimplification in a state of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. The opposite of that is rest, digest, and recover. And I want to say, Heather, that looking at people's labs, even Dutch hormone labs and other labs, I find that especially after 2020 and midlife 2020, right, all existing depletion, a lot of us are stuck within that continuum of fight, flight, freeze, never quite optimizing that rest and recover. Without that, you can't literally rest and recover. And so a lot of what I focus on is nervous system regulation. And through that, it's more inquiry and helping guide the person through it because it's different for everybody. If it's my idea or my favorite thing, it's not enough, it's not going to work. It's what do you like to do? What makes you feel good? How do you process? I would ask questions and how guide the person through what's really underneath it all, creating that lack of safety. It comes down to safety or,
Mhm.
are we going to fight for safety or thrive?
So you're speaking my language right now.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was like. I've got to talk to this woman because she's doing all these things and all these shifts and
Yeah.
taking a risk that lights you up. That's good stress, right?
Yeah, it's
So,
good stress.
and you know what you
What
love.
are like since you've been doing this test on all these women, right?
Hmm.
What are like the number maybe two mineral like deficiencies are you seeing like consistently show up?
Oh my goodness. So I see often that the sodium magnesium ratio is low, and that's our adrenal ratio. That's like, are we depleted? Are we able to rise to the challenge and do the things we want to do to have the life we want? It's pushing beyond capacity for too long and very little self-care. And I see that quite often. I also see for those who feel like, yeah, inflammation and mood swings and things like that, copper dysregulation. And also see the thyroid is slowing down, the thyroid
Mm,
ratio. You can see it's when your adrenals are taxed for too long, it makes sense that the thyroid is trying to adapt. It's using some of the same things your adrenals are to be able to be thriving. And so when your adrenals are depleted, then this thyroid is depleted. Look, I'm pointing at it like it's here, but your thyroid is depleted. And I don't know if people can't see, right? But your thyroid gets depleted and starts to slow down because what it's doing is actually genius. It's trying to protect you and you're going into hibernation mode. It's shutting you down. It's called functional freeze. It's what you talked about with I can't even place her name. I'm so sorry, but the one who's talking about um entrepreneurship trauma or adrenal fatigue. Your body saying, you've been going on for so long. I've been telling you I'm exhausted. Now I'm going to shut you down. What
mm,
does that mean? To slow down your thyroid, your adrenals are depleted, and then your calcium levels go up. And that's where you end up with flatline energy and mood, and kind of like, I don't feel excited anymore.
mhm,
And I'm actually dissociating now if this keeps going on. And unfortunately, what women are doing instead of like understanding the physiology of this burnout is hitting it harder. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to, inflammation. I'm going to do this like extreme diet and I'm going to like manhandle it into some go, 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 right? More go, go, go. And then ultimately you see the sodium potassium vitality ratio go high because you're like, "Rah, I'm going to get it done." And then it starts going down and then it gets
mm,
depleted and then you have no energy. And then you feel like, what's wrong with me? I should be able to do this because I've done it before. But really, it's your body's, it's even their cell danger response. Your mitochondria are the little baby organelles in your cells that generate energy. And there are two jobs. One is to give you energy, but the other is to detect safety. It's
mm,
been detecting lack of safety for too long, so cell danger response shuts your cells down. And so all of it, functional freeze, you're doing the thing, right? Because you've always done the thing, but you're not in it. And then your cell danger response, your cells are just like, I can't because we're not safe. I'm going to shut this down.
mm.
That's midlife burnout, caregiver burnout.
So
Not
much.
hormones, right? That's what I'm trying to say. It's
No wonder
not
we're a
advanced, but
mess.
not. It's like, yeah, we don't know. We're not looking at this. We're doing the JLPs. And like I said, I'm not slamming any of that. It's just
Yeah,
that why are we doing these things are things that tell your body to do something. And
yeah,
your body is saying, like, Uncle, I can't do it. I'm tapping out here.
yeah.
Don't throw stuff at me. Stop punching me. Okay. Let go of that arm bar or whatever that is. So, and we're not hearing it. We're
Yeah.
just putting more in.
Oh my God. Ugh, what a mess we are. I'm just kidding. No, but
Well, we have solutions, so that's
there
the
is
exciting
solutions. I'm
thing.
like, so I can get better. You're telling me I can get better.
I got better, and I was like,
Yeah.
and the other part of the story is exactly what you're saying. A lot of like, if I could just crawl and get it done, I'll continue to do it. But brain fog, yelling at people, lack of logic, it scared the crap out of me. Like when you're exhausted in the middle of the day and have 10 other things to do, you're holding it together for everybody, and you can't even hold yourself up is frightening. I mean, utterly horrible. And so I had to take a break. I had to get sunshine. I had to breathe properly. I told you the
There's
dog
the
came in.
dogs. Cute.
We had a conversation about that. So yeah, I mean, absolutely doing these things. And they're not big things. They're little things in consistent parts of your day. And I find that super exciting. It's like the primal inputs that make your like baseline body thrive. That's what I want to share with people. It's not these fancy, expensive things. Those are great if you want to do it and you can afford it, but it shouldn't be expensive and it shouldn't be
Mhm.
intensive and it shouldn't exhaust you or stress you out to try and heal.
When you go through this, and I know everybody's different,
Hmm.
what's the time to like feel better? Is it like
Yeah.
months, weeks? Is it years? I mean,
Yeah, really good question. So it sometimes well we can see from your mineral pattern how long you've been depleted, and an example, if your sodium magnesium are super low, it means you've been there a long time. So that might take a little bit more time. But some people you start feeling improvement pretty quickly. But to get through that adrenal dysregulation and all the things, it can take time. So it really depends on the person, and also some people are still in the situation that got them. That's what I wanted to come to. I was saying, you were saying like you're a mess. I was like, it's like life will
yeah.
punch you in the face sometimes,
Yep.
and especially when you're taking risks and actually living it fully. And so the good news is go you. But then the bad news, or the thing to know, is it's about resilience and knowing what to do when you
Hmm.
get punched in the face. So it's not like we're going to be on the top of a mountain on the other side of it, but you're going to have more times or moments when you are. And if you know that your minerals and it's more about nervous system regulation and primal inputs, you'll know what to do. And I find that so empowering, right? It's
Yeah.
like going into a fighting ring. I don't know why I'm picking up these. I'm not a fighter, but you will get punched. But you'll know how to duck and you know how to, recover, and you've got that resilience, and you're gonna be able to navigate through it more elegantly.
So good. What's the one thing you want to leave the listeners with today? I mean, you gave us so many great nuggets. I'm like so intrigued by this conversation. But like, if there's like one thing a woman could do, obviously to go do this test, we know that. But like, besides that, like, what's something that you've learned along the journey that you want to leave everybody with today?
Listen to Heather's episode about 2025 recap, because she talks about like this is your time and nobody's going to save you. You're going to be able to save yourself. You are, because you've been holding it together for everybody else. It is your turn. And then if you want, sign up for my program. But I would say if you don't do anything else, that because that's the lowest hanging fruit, right? Like I
Yep.
listened to that a couple times because first of all, it was fascinating and I really loved your journey. But also, there's that talk about depletion. You were so authentic and so raw, and I really appreciate that because that's not easy. But I also heard what you were saying from like the point of midlife and burnout and your journey through it, and you're shifting that trajectory and being in rooms with people that can lead you. So I feel like if the other thing is find people who are like-minded that are on the journey with you. It's really hard to do this by yourself because you've got your blind spots or, whatever. Sometimes when you fall down, you need somebody else to pick you up. And
Mhm.
so that would be the other thing. But you talk about all those things. And so I really, really appreciated that. Thank you.
Oh my God, I love that. Well, we will put in the show notes how they can find you, how they can follow you, how they can sign up for this testing and do all the things. I just want to say thank you.
Amazing.
I've learned so much today. It actually kind of fuels me a little bit to know, okay,
Oh, good.
this is going to get better.
Hmm.
It's just a season. I know that I need to do it for myself and my family because of course, they're the ones that get the brunt of everything. And I
Yeah.
don't want that to be the case for them.
I've been there.
It's bad. Yeah. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. This has been so much fun.